Daedalus, deeply revered as a master craftsman, was once a favored figure in Athens. His reputation was built on remarkable inventions and profound artistry, placing him among the elite. However, a tragic turn of fate led to his exile from Athens due to a grievous crime, taking the life of his nephew and apprentice, Perdiccas, out of jealousy and fear of being overshadowed by the young mentee's promising talent. Seeking refuge after such a grave deed, Daedalus found himself on the island of Crete, where he hoped to rebuild his life and reputation. Upon his arrival in Crete, Daedalus quickly garnered the attention of King Minos. The king recognized the unparalleled skill and ingenuity Daedalus possessed. Minos, known for his wealth and ambition, saw in Daedalus an opportunity to embellish his kingdom with unprecedented works. Consequently, Daedalus was embraced in the royal court, where his talents were put to extensive use. It is here that his story intertwines with that of Icarus, his beloved son, born amidst the bustling court of Crete. As Icarus grew, Daedalus devoted himself not only to his craft, but also to his role as a father, instilling curiosity and caution in the boy. King Minos soon commissioned Daedalus to undertake a monumental project, the Labyrinth, a sprawling and complex structure designed to imprison the fearsome Minotaur, a creature born from a curse on the royal family. The labyrinth was to be so intricate that escape from its depths would be impossible. Daedalus, driven by both the challenge and necessity of appeasing the king, poured his heart into the creation of this architectural marvel. His work won him even greater favor with Minos, further solidifying his place in Crete's hierarchy. Despite his successes, Daedalus' life on Crete was not without its personal struggles. He remained protective of Icarus, mindful of the dangers surrounding the court's shifting power dynamics. The intricate political landscape of Minos' reign was fraught with tension. The Minotaur's imprisonment sparked unrest, and whispers of discontent echoed through the corridors of power. Amidst this turmoil, Daedalus focused on safeguarding Icarus from potential harm, nurturing a bond between them built on love and mutual respect. As time passed, the political climate in Crete became increasingly unstable. The presence of the Minotaur was a constant reminder of the royal family's dark secrets, and the lengths they would go to suppress them. Daedalus found himself ensnared in a web of court politics, where loyalty could shift like the winds over the Cretan seas. His involvement in constructing the labyrinth inadvertently tied him to these adverse dynamics, leading to unforeseen consequences for both him and Icarus. Aware of the growing peril, Daedalus sensed that their lives could not continue on Crete indefinitely. The once harmonious island now mirrored a gilded cage, beautiful yet confining. It became clear that to secure their future, they would need to escape the very prison that Daedalus had engineered. This realization planted a seed of foresight within Daedalus, prompting him to contemplate an escape plan, transforming desperation into a determined quest for liberation. As the sunlight danced on the winding paths of the labyrinth, Daedalus understood that his greatest challenge lay ahead. The need for escape loomed over their existence, pressing upon Daedalus as both craftsman and father. He stood on the cusp of devising yet another, perhaps his most daring invention, one that would harness the very air above Crete to free them. This necessity for escape marked the beginning of their adventurous journey as they sought to defy the bounds of the labyrinthine island. After Daedalus's remarkable work constructing the labyrinth, King Minos grew increasingly wary of the knowledge Daedalus possessed. The labyrinth was not merely a physical structure. It was a bastion of secrets and mysteries that only its creator fully understood. Concerned that Daedalus might reveal these secrets, intentionally or otherwise, Minos decided that the safest course was to confine the master craftsman and his son, Icarus, within the very maze that Daedalus had built. This decision marked the beginning of a period of both physical and emotional imprisonment for the father and son, setting the stage for a tale of desperation and hope. In the first days of their captivity, Daedalus and Icarus were overwhelmed by the gravity of their situation. The labyrinthine walls towered around them, cold and unyielding, a stark reminder of their isolation. The initial shock of being trapped within the stone walls soon gave way to the heavy realization that they were indeed prisoners, cut off from the life they knew in Crete. For Icarus, young and spirited, the confinement was especially challenging. The shadows of the labyrinth seemed to stretch endlessly, echoing his feelings of frustration. He longed for the sunlit hills and freedom the outside world offered, growing restless within the confines of stone and silence. Despite the oppressive circumstances, Daedalus's inventive nature refused to be subdued. He was a man driven not by circumstance but by insight and creativity. As days passed, Daedalus realized that escape was not just a fanciful idea, but a necessity for survival. The thoughts of freedom started to transform into a plan, slowly taking shape in his mind. He meticulously analyzed their environment, observing the small, often overlooked details, the way light streamed through cracks, the movement of air currents, and how birds effortlessly navigated the skies above them. These observations were not just musings of a trapped man, but the seeds of inspiration for his ingenious escape plan. This difficult period also served as a forging ground for the bond between Daedalus and Icarus. The challenges they faced together brought them closer, highlighting Daedalus's role not only as a craftsman, but also as a father determined to secure a future for his son. They spent hours discussing the world beyond the labyrinth, sharing stories and dreams that kept their spirits alight. Icarus, while initially consumed by frustration, began to see the strength in his father's resolve, learning resilience through Daedalus's quiet fortitude and hope. As Daedalus continued to contemplate their predicament, he found himself increasingly drawn to the natural world outside their prison. Every evening the sky transformed into a canvas of colors, with birds winging gracefully towards the horizon. These moments were bittersweet, serving as both a reminder of the freedom they lacked and as sources of inspiration. Daedalus watched, entranced by the effortless flight of the birds, their wings cutting through the air as if the sky itself bowed to their will. It was this sight that sparked an idea, a daring, almost mad idea that wings could be the key to their escape. Hints of a plan began to emerge, using the few materials available to them. The chasm between their reality and the possibility of escape seemed vast, yet not insurmountable. Daedalus knew that within the rubble and wreckage around them, tools and materials lay waiting to be transformed. The scattered feathers left behind by birds that occasionally nested near their confinement, the malleable wax from their prison candles, and the strong threads of their worn clothing, all became pieces of a puzzle that Daedalus was determined to solve. Contrast between their confinement and the freedom of the birds, hanging in the sky above, was stark and poignant. The birds, symbols of liberty and flight, remained untouched by the chains that bound Daedalus and Icarus. Each day Daedalus marveled at their potential, the simplicity of their existence fused with the grand complexity of flight. This contrast weighed heavily on Icarus, amplifying his yearning for freedom. Yet, it also fueled Daedalus's determination to create something extraordinary, something that would defy their terrestrial constraints and carry them skyward to a new dawn. As the golden hues of sunset enveloped their cell, casting long shadows through the barred window, a quiet hope began to grow. For Daedalus, the whispers of a plan had evolved into a concept, and with it, a vision of freedom. He knew that the journey ahead would demand patience, ingenuity, and courage, qualities he was ready to summon. Beyond the walls, beneath the fading light, the world awaited, and with it, the promise of escape. In the dimly lit workshop that served as their temporary home within the labyrinth, Daedalus embarked on an ambitious plan to evade the confines of the labyrinth. His eyes twinkled with determination as the firelight flickered across the array of tools meticulously arranged before him. The room, though cloaked in shadows, exuded an air of anticipation and creativity. With Icarus watching closely, Daedalus began gathering the materials necessary for their audacious escape. Feathers shed by birds that perched nearby, sticky wax from candles they had managed to procure, and sturdy threads carefully unraveled from the scant garments they possessed. As Daedalus worked, he explained each step to Icarus, emphasizing the essential roles these materials would play in their survival. Over several long nights, he painstakingly crafted the wings, attaching feather to feather with utmost care. This laborious task was more than mere engineering. It was an expression of hope and a potential pathway to freedom. The rhythmic motion of Daedalus's hands underscored the gravity of their situation. These wings symbolized a leap of faith, a promise of new horizons stretching beyond walls that held them captive. To Daedalus, the act of flight was fraught with meaning. On the one hand, it was a testament to human ingenuity and resilience, allowing them to transcend the obstacles cast by a tyrannical king. But more importantly, it embodied the timeless yearning for freedom, a chance to reclaim their lives and chart their destiny. These wings represented a daring gamble against the odds, a beacon of light in their enforced darkness. Watching his father weave together their means of escape, Icarus oscillated between excitement and skepticism. His youthful mind was filled with visions of soaring above the expansive seas that bordered Crete, the thrill of liberation coursing through his veins at the thought. Yet, a shadow of doubt lingered, questioning the feasibility of their endeavor. Daedalus, sensing his son's hesitance, offered reassurance grounded not just in dreams but also in the meticulous design and thought imbued in their creation. As the structure of the wings took shape, Daedalus turned his attention to educating Icarus on their use and care. He carefully demonstrated how to secure the wings and the subtle maneuvers required to harness the wind's currents. Icarus absorbed these instructions, listening intently to the wisdom born from years of craftsmanship and necessity. Daedalus emphasized the need for caution, especially regarding the strength of wax under direct sunlight, instilling in Icarus a blend of hope and respect for their fragile constructs. Testing the wings within the confines of their enclosure became a ritual of discipline and anticipation. Under Daedalus's watchful eye, Icarus practiced with restrained enthusiasm, executing cautious movements to gauge the wing's response. Each small success inspired greater confidence, yet Daedalus reminded him repeatedly of the intricacies involving height and speed, drawing parallels between their feathered creations and fate. Mercurial winds they aimed to conquer. In the following days they made final adjustments, reinforcing weak points with additional threads, ensuring each feather stayed true to its trajectory. Precision became their ally, preparing them for the pivotal leap of faith. Daedalus's past experiences as a craftsman informed every alteration, blending artistry with acute functionality. Every component was assessed and reassessed with an unyielding eye for detail, shielding their anticipations with layers of thoughtful preparation. As the moment of departure loomed closer, Daedalus took time to communicate one last cohesive assessment of their plans. The escape required Icarus to heed the conditions, the elevation necessary to clear the island's rugged edges, the extent of their endurance, and most critically, the peril of approaching the sun's warmth. "Stay within bounds," Daedalus advised, his voice both stern and gentle, "for our wings can only bear us within the realm they are made to endure," closing the chapter on their labor anticipation. Hung in the air, transforming fear into courage and uncertainty into resolve. With a father's guiding hand and a son's belief in flight, their destiny rested on the cusp of the horizon, where ingenuity promised to meet freedom. As dawn broke over the island of Crete, A tranquil promise of a new beginning lingered in the air. The first light of day cast its golden hue on Daedalus and Icarus, stirring them from a restless night of anticipation. Their escape, meticulously crafted in the shadows of confinement, was about to unfold. The father and son stood side by side, their wings, a brilliant culmination of feathers and wax, glinting softly in the emerging sunlight. The quiet morning was filled with whispered reminders and warnings exchanged between them, a testament to Daedalus's profound hopes and lingering fears. With every measured adjustment to the straps and bindings of their wings, Daedalus's voice filled the gentle quiet. "Remember, my son, moderation is our ally. Neither soar too high, nor hover too low. Keep to the path we have set." Icarus nodded, his youthful curiosity illuminated with both excitement and trepidation. He knew the gravity of their quest. Yet, in his heart, the allure of the sky spoke of freedom and daring adventures. Despite his father's earnest cautions, a thrill coursed through him at the thought of the world stretching beneath his feet. The moment of takeoff unfolded with a breathless grace. With deft movements, Daedalus guided his wings into the wind, launching skywards with practiced ease. Icarus followed, most naturally, as if his spirit had long been destined to flight. For a brief moment, time seemed suspended, the earth below forgotten, the labyrinthine paths left behind, exchanged for the vast, open sky. Together, they rose beyond the confines of their previous lives, weightless and unshackled. In those initial moments aloft, the sensation of flying unveiled itself in layers of freedom and fear. The sun felt the air rush against his face, each sweeping motion carving trails of liberation and daring across the sky. Daedalus, ever cautious, monitored their progress intently, his mind racing with calculations of wind and altitude. The mastery over nature they wielded was profound, a delicate dance of daring and caution that bore the essence of triumph. Below, Crete unfurled like a tapestry of ancient stories, its rugged coastlines and rolling hills painting an awe-inspiring portrait. The father and son glanced downward, captivated by the wondrous expanse spread beneath them. These were vistas both new and defining, carved not from stone or labyrinths, but born from dreams of an enduring escape. Communication between Daedalus and Icarus flowed seamlessly in the confines of the boundless sky. Daedalus, with his seasoned wisdom, guided cautiously, his gestures and calls instructing Icarus on navigating the aerial currents. Icarus, brimming with youthful energy, responded with eagerness and agility, finding his own rhythm in the air. Each moment was a collaboration of determination and discovery, a testament to their shared humanity and thirst for transcendence. Challenges arose, as the airy domain was fraught with unpredictable currents and hidden obstacles. Icarus occasionally struggled to hold his course, adjusting to counter the turbulence that threatened their path. Daedalus, ever vigilant, kept a watchful eye, ready to intervene when the swirling forces of the sky could whisk his son into danger. Yet, as they continued, both discovered a synchrony between them, a confidence and mutual understanding that wove their flight into a harmonious tapestry of trust and courage. The underlying tension of the journey was ever present in Daedalus's mind. His thoughts turned frequently to Icarus's safety, a constant consideration pulsing beneath the exhilarating grandeur of their escape. Each glance at his son carried unspoken pleas for caution, each heartbeat a reminder of the fragile balance they entertained in their quest. As the sun steadily climbed higher, Daedalus and Icarus remained aloft, bound by the currents swirling around them and the ambitions that set them free. The air was rich with stories of daring and flight, but in Daedalus's gaze, a shadow of concern lingered, a foreboding sense that not all paths are free from peril. Their triumph, in essence, was delicate and precious, fraught with the reality that wings of wax and feather bear hope, as well as fragility. As Daedalus and Icarus soared high above the land of Crete, a newfound euphoria enveloped Icarus. The sensation of flight was intoxicating. The gentle breeze brushed past his face, the rhythmic beat of his wings in harmony with the natural world around him. Below, the vast expanse of the Aegean Sea sparkled like an endless tapestry of sapphires, igniting a sense of invincibility within Icarus. The world seemed limitless, an open canvas for adventure and exploration. The higher he flew, the greater his elation, a youthful exuberance spurred by the grandeur of the sun. Daedalus, ever cautious, cast frequent glances toward his son. He noted with increasing concern that Icarus's altitude was creeping upwards, a mere silhouette against the blazing orb of the sun. The height they had achieved was both thrilling and fraught with danger, a fact Daedalus knew too well. He signaled to Icarus, his gestures a blend of warning and guidance, urging his son to temper his flight and keep a safe distance from the radiant heat above. Yet, the allure of the sun proved too captivating for Icarus. Each beat of his wings seemed to drown out the father's warnings whispered in the wind. Icarus was enthralled by the sun's luminescence, its golden glow intoxicatingly beautiful and warm. Inside his head, a monologue of youthful desire and exuberance overpowered the voice of caution. This was a dance with the gods, a rare glimpse into the heavens that few mortals ever dreamt of experiencing. As enchantment clouded his reasoning, Icarus edged nearer to the sun. The reality of Daedalus's craftsmanship began to falter under the intense heat. The wax holding the wings together softened, growing pliable and delicate. A subtle shift beneath his shoulders was the first sign, like the warning tremors of an impending quake. From below, Daedalus's anxiety turned to desperation. His signals to Icarus took on a frantic urgency, a silent cry echoing through the boundless sky. But the wind carried his gestures away in whispers, swallowed by the boundless horizon. Icarus remained oblivious to the plight he was inching towards, lost in a world of his own creation. In a terrifying instant, clarity struck Icarus as the physical integrity of his wings began to betray him. The wax faltered, strands of feathers drifted away with the wind, casting fleeting shadows over the ocean below. A realization of peril gripped Icarus as if waking from a dream to confront an inevitable reality. At this pivotal moment, his fate was sealed. The wings, once the very symbols of freedom and ingenuity, could no longer sustain his flight. As they collapsed, the boy who dared to embrace the sun felt gravity tightening its old grasp, pulling him back to the realm of mortals. His mind raced, grasping for a way to reclaim lost control, but it was a fleeting hope swept away by the air currents. While Icarus fell, Daedalus bore witness to the scene, his heart heavy with dread and helplessness. The sun, having seduced the boy into overconfidence, now receded beyond a cloud as if turning its gaze away from the tragedy it played a part in. The finality of Icarus's fall hung in the air, an omen of sorrow echoing throughout the heavens. And so it was that the allure of the sun, beautiful, captivating, yet unforgiving, cast Icarus down from its fiery embrace. This tale, written among the ancient myths, serves as an eternal reminder of ambition's peril when untempered by wisdom. The sky was left silent, the waves regaining their calmness below, as the world prepared to witness the continuation of a father's journey forged now by loss. As the sun reached its zenith, the youthful Icarus soared through the vibrant sky, his exhilaration unrestrained as he danced amidst the clouds. The warmth of the sun, so inviting and alluring, was unlike anything he had ever felt. But soon, the seductive pull of the sun's radiant embrace began to unravel the careful craftsmanship that had given him this moment of transcendent joy. Little by little, the intricate bindings of his wax-secured feathers succumbed to the intense heat, and the wings that held his dreams aloft started to falter. Daedalus, soaring not far below, watched in growing horror as his son climbed higher still. His voice, laced with urgent warning, barely reached Icarus over the rushing winds and the exhilarating song of freedom. In that delicate balance between earth and sky, Daedalus knew the fragility of bonded feathers and wax, but the wisdom of his years was lost to his son, a boy enraptured by the light of the sun rather than the shadows cast behind. Icarus barely registered the first slip of a feather, small and seemingly inconsequential against the vastness of the sky. The world below appeared so serene, the rolling waves nothing more than whispers beneath him. However, as more feathers began to loosen and spiral away on the breeze, a creeping sense of dread filled his heart. With every second, the ebbing strength of his wings became undeniable, the wax visibly softening in the relentless sunlight. It was a tragedy in motion, unseen by one so occupied with the celestial. Helplessness engulfed Daedalus, as he could only watch the rapid onset of fate. Compassionate yet stern, the master craftsman urged his son to descend, but his cries were lost amidst Icarus's soaring ambition. In that heart-rending moment, Daedalus understood he was not just watching a physical fall, but the crumbling of aspirations and possibilities yet to be fulfilled. The sky, once expansive and promising, transformed into a stage for inevitable tragedy. The inevitable came swiftly. Icarus's wings dissolved in the glaring sun, feather by feather, until he was no longer buoyed by his dreams, but seized by gravity's relentless pull. As Icarus began his rapid descent, panic intermingled with clarity in his mind. He remembered the gentle warnings, the tender moments shared with his father, and the stories of ancient heroes fallen by their own hand. The realization of his hubris flashed before him as he plummeted toward the vast blue beneath, acceptance joined by a desperate hope that he wouldn't be forgotten. The sunlit sea opened to receive him, its arms wide in a tragic embrace. The blue depths swallowed the boy and his audacious journey, nature taking back what was loaned. Upon the waves, a fleeting spray marked his passing, a momentary disturbance in the endless rhythm of the ocean. It was a testament to dreams pursued too eagerly, yet with the purity of youthful wonder. Daedalus circled above the scene of devastation, frantic eyes scanning the water's rippling surface. His own ascent seemed a cruel paradox against the descent he had just witnessed. The waters below, once allies in their escape, now seemed to conspire in concealing his lost son. Each wave that lapped at the rocky shores seemed to mock his helplessness, leaving Daedalus with only the echoes of his failure. Consumed by an indescribable burden of despair, Daedalus hovered above the sea, the enormity of his loss washing over him like a relentless tide. The boy with whom he had shared sacred confidences and whom he had equipped for a future of endless possibility had vanished into the depths, leaving only memories and unfulfilled potential. With hands outstretched and heavy heart, Daedalus declared the surrounding expanse the Icarian Sea, a name meant to preserve the boy's memory even as the world continued to spin, indifferent and... Yet, this was not the end but a transition, a new journey birthed from the embers of tragedy. As the waves softly received the boy within their depths, Daedalus prepared to face the shadows of despair that would guide his next steps. He inhaled deeply, absorbing the life-giving air to replenish his resolve. Even amidst ruins of personal catastrophe, the lessons of loss sketched new paths forward, illuminating roads paved with hard-earned wisdom and solemn remembrance. The vast expanse of the sea, now christened the Icarian Sea, lay calm beneath the summer sky. Daedalus, consumed by sorrow, glided slowly down, drawn inexorably to the spot where his son had vanished beneath the waves. As he descended, the reality of his loss loomed heavier than ever. The waters seemed endless, a poignant reminder of the dreams that had once taken flight but were now drowned in tragedy. Navigating the gentle currents, Daedalus finally reached Icarus's body, cradled by the sea. The sight of his son's lifeless form jolted Daedalus' heart into a direful rhythm. How vibrant those wings had seemed, how fragile they truly were, now nothing but scattered feathers upon tumultuous memories. As he gathered Icarus into his arms, a profound sorrow surged through Daedalus, wrapping him in a silent embrace colder than the sea itself. On the solitary shore of a secluded island, the melancholic figure of Daedalus stood, the sun dipping languorously below the horizon. The vigil over his son's lifeless body was a rite only a grieving father could perform. As the waves whispered against the rocks, Daedalus faced the bitter weight of his own inventions, pondering whether his mind's creations had cost too much. This confrontation was one between the hopeful architect and the bereaved father, his heart torn by the dualities of genius and grief. Alone in his mourning, Daedalus set about preparing for a funeral, just as a shrine must be meticulously built. The meandering solitude on the inhospitable island endowed every movement with a purpose beyond survival. No ceremony could return Icarus, yet Daedalus carefully arranged stones and driftwood into a humble memorial. Each movement in this silent ceremony bore the ineffable weight of remembrance, a poignant tribute to a son who dared soar too high. As the light dwindled, Daedalus found himself constructing a memorial upon the rugged hillside overlooking the sea, a sacred effort to preserve Icarus's spirit amid the eternal elements. The soft glow of dusk lent a whisper of warmth to his task as he formed an altar of stones, stacked carefully by hands tremoring with reflection. This was more than stone and earth. It was a testament to love and loss, a symbol as enduring as the rocks and waves. In the quiet hours following, Daedalus found himself swept into tides of reflection. The past unfurled in his mind, a tapestry woven with both triumph and folly. He envisioned the steps and missteps of the day, wondering where destiny slipped silently into fate. How easily dreams can blind one to the perilous edges of reality. Yet, through the swirling tempest of regret, emerged a new understanding, acknowledgement of his own humanity and limitations. Though the sea had claimed his son, Daedalus resolved not to let grief drown him as well. There lay before him a decision as profound as the endless sea, whether to sink into despair or embrace the legacy of a fall as a cornerstone from which to rebuild his life. Deep within this sorrow, Daedalus found a flicker of hope, a hope that sprung not from resignation, but from realization. Aware of the lessons carved into the fabric of his fate, he knew he must continue his journey. With the receding twilight casting long shadows over the island, Daedalus bid a silent farewell to the boy he had raised, dreamt for, and ultimately lost. Yet he stepped forth, each step affirming the hard-won wisdom gleaned from atoning through love's labor. He vowed to carry Icarus's memory, not as an epitaph, but as a compass for his heart, a guiding light through the darkness of uncertainty. And so, silhouetted against the dying light, Daedalus looked towards the horizon, contemplating the unknown path still laid out before him. His journey was far from over. Indeed, it had just begun anew, elevated now by the depth of understanding only loss can impart. While his heart ached with the void left by Icarus, it also brimmed with the promise of what lay ahead, the quiet resolve to mend and create where once he had faltered. After the solemn events on the secluded island, Daedalus took to the skies once more, now traveling not on wings, but on the wisdom gathered through his experiences. The pain of his loss still lingered heavily in his heart, yet as he departed from the lonely shores where his son lay, there was also a quiet promise of renewal. The world stretched out before him, offering new horizons and the chance to rebuild. Each passing wave beneath him was a silent testament to the impermanence of grief, encouraging him to move forward. The vast expanse of the sea gradually gave way to the rolling hills and lush fields of Sicily, bathed in warm sunlight under a clear blue sky. Here was a land brimming with promise and potential, its beauty a gentle balm to Daedalus's wounded soul. The vibrant landscape stood in stark contrast to the sorrow he carried, yet it was in this juxtaposition that Daedalus found a semblance of peace. As his eyes took in the emerald fields and azure skies, he felt a slow awakening within himself, a flicker of hope kindled by the new beginnings that Sicily promised. Not long after his arrival, Daedalus was welcomed by King Cautionary, whose court abounded in curiosity and respect for the legendary craftsman's talents. Cautionary, aware of Daedalus's past and the tragedies that accompanied him, offered the solace of a fresh start, recognizing in Daedalus the gift of creation that could transform the very earth they stood upon. The hospitality extended to him was genuine and warm, a stark contrast to the murmurings of courts past, and Daedalus found comfort in the king's welcoming embrace. Sicily, with its gentle climate and nurturing soil, soon became a place of respite for Daedalus. It was here, among the island's ancient olive trees and sunlit hills, that he began to find healing. The natural beauty served as a balm to his grief, each sunrise and sunset, a reminder that life continued its cycle, unabated. This idyllic setting eased the lingering sorrow within him, encouraging moments of contemplation and acceptance as Daedalus started anew, the past still resting in his heart but no longer his soul. Companion. In recognition of Daedalus's unparalleled genius, King Cautionary tasked him with constructing another engineering marvel. Gratitude for the chance to apply his skills once again filled Daedalus with a sense of rejuvenation. The task was not just about building but also about rebirth, channeling his grief into something tangible and lasting. Each brick laid, each beam set in place, became an act of defiance against despair, a declaration that life could be renewed through the art of creation. Despite the energizing challenge presented to him, Daedalus constantly reflected on the lessons of his past. The memory of Icarus always present, nudging Daedalus to reconsider each decision with a poignant caution born from hard-won understanding. His thoughts often drifted back to Crete, to the intricate labyrinth and the ominous shadows it cast. But now, those memories served as a guide, a reminder of human frailty and ambition that required balance and wisdom. Settling into this new chapter of his life, Daedalus found a semblance of peace. The gentle rhythm of Sicilian life, the friendly faces of its people, and the undulating landscape combined to create a setting where he could reconcile grief with the fervor of innovation. Yet, even as he planted new seeds of future achievements, the indelible shadows of past choices and memories lingered, like ghosts that, though specter-like, could not wholly chain his renewed aspirations. As Daedalus immersed himself in the life and culture of Sicily, he embraced a delicate equilibrium between mourning and creation, learning to weave past mistakes into the very fabric of his future endeavors. Every structure he built carried an echo of his son's spirit, not a burden but a bittersweet guide urging mindful creation. As he looked out over the Sicilian fields, the golden light reflecting off their surface, Daedalus knew that, while he might never fully escape the shadows of his past, he could harness them to fuel a wiser, more compassionate legacy. In this fertile land, a new chapter awaited, with the promise of a legacy not just inherited, but consciously crafted through experience and reflection. Upon arriving in Sicily, Daedalus found himself embraced by the warmth and hospitality of the Sicilian people. The island, nested under the sunlit skies and surrounded by the azure sea, was a balm to his wounded soul. The people of Sicily, with their rich cultural tapestry, readily welcomed him into their midst, forming a new family bonded by creativity and mutual respect. King Cocalus, in particular, acknowledged Daedalus's brilliance, offering him the opportunity to channel his genius into building wonders that could uplift the island's prestige. Daedalus set to work with renewed vigor, his hands and mind busy crafting marvels that would etch his name into the annals of Sicilian history. Inspired by the backdrop of Sicily's lush landscapes and vibrant communities, he designed structures that harmonized with nature. His creations, ranging from intricately detailed temples to ingenious irrigation systems, reflected the lessons learned from past tragedies. He infused each project with the creativity and caution born of his experiences, ensuring that they were both innovative and safe. As Daedalus immersed himself in his craft, he began to recognize the vital role of teaching and passing on knowledge. Educating the young Sicilians soon became as important to him as the structures he was building. Gathering groups of eager apprentices, Daedalus shared the art and science of invention, teaching them not only the technical skills, but also imbuing them with an understanding of the values necessary for responsible creation. His workshops buzzed with activity, alive with the sounds of tools and the chatter of learning. The tragedy of Icarus was not forgotten, and Daedalus integrated the lessons he learned from that fateful day into his teachings. He emphasized the importance of balance, the delicate equilibrium between ambition and prudence. His designs, therefore, carried with them the weight of his past, manifesting as thoughtful engineering that melded beauty with purpose. Daedalus's new approach to innovation brought him a sense of peace and emotional solace, as he found that he could still honor his son's memory through this mindful work. King Cocalus observed the transformation in his kingdom, grateful for Daedalus's contributions. The Sicilian landscape began to shift and grow, a testament to the architect's influence and dedication. Under Daedalus's guidance, the island started to bloom with cultural and technological advancement, establishing Sicily as a beacon of progress. Daedalus carefully balanced his relentless creativity with the wisdom gained from his journey, ensuring that every step forward honored the past and safeguarded the future. Daedalus's journey in Sicily marked a period of significant healing and forward momentum. Building these enduring legacies provided him with emotional comfort, allowing him to reconcile with his past even as he looked toward the future. His impact extended beyond the physical structures. He fostered a spirit of innovation and learning that would outlast his own life. Through his efforts, Sicily thrived, becoming a hub of creativity where past experiences informed the future. Thus, Daedalus's legacy took root, interwoven with the fabric of Sicilian life. His contributions had created a community bonded by shared knowledge and purpose, a family founded on respect and admiration for the wisdom of their adopted craftsmen. Reflecting on his journey, Daedalus realized that his story was more than the tale of escape and loss. It was one of survival, adaptation, and enduring influence. As the sun continued to rise over Sicilian fields, Daedalus found comfort in knowing that his newfound home would carry forward the torch of creativity. He had carved out a place where the memory of his son and the lessons of his past would fuel generations to come, proving that legacies could indeed outlive those who create them. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting a soft amber glow over the Sicilian countryside, Daedalus sat alone, absorbed in introspection. His journey in Sicily had been marked by achievements, but the past often wove itself unnoticed into the fabric of his daily thoughts. The name Daedalus had become synonymous with innovation, yet the shadow of Icarus lingered like a ghostly presence. On some nights, sleep eluded him, replaced by dreams of his son spiraling toward the sea, the dreadful image dissolving with the dawn, yet leaving a residue of melancholy in its wake. The contrast between his time on Crete and his current life in Sicily was stark. In Crete, he had been a reluctant prisoner, forced into devising ingenious traps within the labyrinth he constructed. It was there that the sun-soaked potential of flight had revealed itself, a chance for escape accompanied by stark consequences. In Sicily, however, Daedalus was celebrated, living not amidst walls of constraint, but in fields of opportunity. The beauty and freedom of his new home were vivid and tangible, yet they often reminded him of what he had lost, daring him to confront memories he had tried to bury. Despite these memories, the world continued to acknowledge and praise Daedalus's work. Structures that bore his mark stood as monuments to creativity and brilliance. The king's court often sang his praises, and stories of his feats reached distant lands, embellishing his legacy. Yet, each laurel crowned upon his brow whispered of the personal loss it could not erase. Recognition was a balm, not a cure, for the ache that settled deep within his soul. Amid the triumphs of his engineering marvels, Daedalus often found solace in solitude. Within the walls of the workshops, surrounded by the whir of invention and learning minds, a quiet moment would draw him back to thoughts of Icarus. He remembered the spark of curiosity in his son's eyes, a reflection of his own. The wings they once shared were not just tools of escape, but symbols of a bond that transcended worldly confines. Standing before his creations, he would sometimes stare into the distance, lost in the unfathomable sea of what might have been. Trusting his feelings to another was no easy feat. Yet, there was a time when Daedalus shared his burden with a close companion, an artist who understood the depth beneath the surface of creation. In hushed tones, he spoke of the duality of success. The world saw a hero, a master of craft. He felt the weight of a father who had reached for the heavens and found them wanting. His companion listened, offering sympathy in the unspoken language of shared experience, fostering a kinship forged beyond words. The ghosts of his past were patient and persistent, intercepting the mundane rhythm of his days. Each time he guided a young apprentice, he was reminded of how ambition without caution had cost him dearly. It was this reflection that drove him to instill both creativity and humility in the eager minds that surrounded him. The stories he recounted of Icarus were comprehensive, saturated with lessons of prudence. He taught not just the art of invention, but the importance of acknowledging the balance between aspiration and prudence. Above all, Daedalus's journey was now dedicated to ensuring that his son's story was not just a lament of tragedy, but an anthem of progress. He imbued his teachings with insights meant to fortify young minds against heedlessness, weaving the legacy of Icarus into a narrative of innovation tempered with wisdom. With each new endeavor and every lesson imparted, Daedalus honored his son's memory, committed to ensuring that the wings of future generations would both soar and safely land. Daedalus gazed at the fading light, the horizon a blend of soft pinks and amber hues, and felt a quiet resolution settle over him. His life had traversed the spectrum, from creation to calamity, the weight of personal history interwoven with the promise of enduring impact. Perhaps the true legacy lay not in the accomplishments measured by stone and mortar, but in the wisdom passed from heart to heart. With that thought, the moment called for contemplation, a gentle reminder that past and present were never truly separate, and that tomorrow awaited with a promise untold. The warm afternoon sun streamed through the broad windows of the Sicilian workshop, casting soft golden hues over the young apprentices who filled its space. These eager learners, inspired by the enduring legacy of Daedalus, were busy at work under his watchful eye. He moved among them, each gesture laden with the wisdom he had accumulated over a lifetime. Daedalus's presence was both a compass and an anchor, guiding the next generation toward a future rich with innovation and tempered by the lessons of the past. Among these apprentices, stories of Icarus were often recounted, not as mere tales of warning, but as lessons of humility and caution. Daedalus shared his memories not to glorify his past, nor to dwell in regret, but to provide a foundation for these young minds, to understand the balance between ambition and prudence. His recounting of Icarus's flight was sincere and poignant, emphasizing the need to respect both human limits and the forces of nature. The apprentices listened intently, absorbing the narrative not as a distant myth, but as a tangible part of their own history. This careful intertwining of narrative and instruction allowed the myth of Icarus to evolve, becoming a cornerstone in their cultural education. In this environment, old narratives were revitalized and breathed anew. Daedalus's teachings transformed the way his apprentices perceived innovation and creativity. The young Sicilians integrated these stories into their burgeoning cultural fabric, enriching it with hard-earned wisdom. The old stories, once echoing with loss, now resonated with hope and possibility, a testament to progress and continuous learning. They understood that innovation bore responsibility, a realization that resonated deeply within the hearts of these learners. Projects initiated by Daedalus began to flourish under the meticulous care of his apprentices. Each project bore his signature ingenuity, yet was enhanced by the fresh perspectives of younger minds. These apprentices, respectful of the legacy yet eager to make their own contributions, expanded upon Daedalus's visions. The structures and inventions they crafted were not only functional, but also inspirations, serving as tangible manifestations of the collaboration between past wisdom and present innovation. The transformation in cultural attitudes was evident throughout Sicily. Where once innovation might have been approached with caution and trepidation, it was now greeted with enthusiasm, tempered by the wisdom imparted by Daedalus. This change was not abrupt nor easily won. It was a gradual shift, nurtured by the steady influence of Daedalus and the dedication of his apprentices. Through their combined efforts, Sicily began to flourish in new and vibrant ways, becoming a beacon of cultural and technological growth within the Mediterranean. The influence of Daedalus was visible in every aspect of Sicilian life, from the burgeoning markets filled with innovative creations to the newfound respect for balance and harmony in their communal endeavors. Daedalus's impact was far-reaching and profound, offering a guidance that extended beyond the physical structures he had helped create. The apprentices saw him not only as a mentor, but as an integral part of their lives, whose teachings infused their work with meaning and purpose. Amid these developments, Daedalus often found himself in contemplative reflection, observing the seeds he had sown take root and flourish. He watched the young learners grow into capable artisans and inventors, each carrying a piece of his legacy. As he stood in the workshop, surrounded by the hum of productivity and creativity, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. It was a gentle reassurance that, despite the losses and challenges of his past, his life's work had taken on new life, extending beyond his own time. Daedalus's enduring impact was a source of solace and quiet pride. It was a testament to his belief in the transformative power of knowledge and the unyielding hope that future generations would carry forth these lessons. As the apprentices diligently continued the projects he had begun, their collective efforts painted a picture of a bright future, one where the past and present were intertwined harmoniously. With each passing day in the sunlit workshops of Sicily, Daedalus could see the legacy of his teachings unfurling like the sails of a ship heading toward an uncharted horizon. There was a peace in knowing that his story, and indeed the story of Icarus, had served as a guidepost for these young artisans, offering them not only the skills to craft a future, but the wisdom to navigate it wisely. As the afternoon sun cast longer shadows across their workbenches, Daedalus felt the gentle shift of future possibilities. The apprentices carried forward the echoes of his teachings, ensuring that the spirit of innovation, humility, and wisdom would continue to thrive. His heart swelled with pride, knowing that the seeds he had planted were not only growing but flourishing across Sicily, testament to the complex, yet beautiful tapestry of life he had woven. In the twilight of his life, Daedalus sat, pensive and contemplative, as the Sicilian sun dipped below the horizon. Having lived a life replete with triumphs and tragedies, he now found solace in reflection. He pondered the many achievements that dotted his life's journey, from the grand labyrinth on Crete to the ingenious creations that flourished under his vision in Sicily. Each success was a testament to his boundless curiosity and ingenuity, yet each bore the weight of the lessons learned through past failures, chief among them the loss of his son, Icarus. The gentle autumn breeze carried Daedalus to Icarus's memorial, a site he frequently visited to honor his son's memory. This sacred place served as both a physical and emotional anchor for Daedalus, a spot where he could feel the presence of his dearly departed son. Here, he acknowledged the dual legacy left by Icarus, a tale told to young apprentices of ambition curbed by wisdom, and the perpetual reminder of the balance required in navigating the delicate landscape of human invention. Daedalus knew that the pain of that fateful day was etched forever in the annals of his life, yet so too was the enduring impact of the story of caution it imparted to others. Reflecting on the passage of time, Daedalus revisited the lessons that had shaped his path. Triumphs came as architects of progress, but it was through failures that the clay of wisdom was molded. He had learned that the essence of innovation wasn't merely in the act of creation, but in its reflection of humanity, its hopes, its follies, and its endless pursuit of betterment. With each invention, Daedalus realized that innovation held the power to elevate society just as easily as it could humble the overly ambitious. Acknowledging the overarching influence of memory, Daedalus marveled at how moments from the past had the capacity to transcend time, impacting not only his own life, but the lives of those who would follow. Yes. Memory, he knew, was a conduit through which knowledge and caution were passed down generations. It was in this transference that stories grew into legends, and lessons morphed into teachings, securing a place for them in the continuing saga of human existence. With a pragmatic mind tempered by years of experience, Daedalus engaged in philosophical contemplation about the responsibilities tied to intelligence and creativity. He pondered the prudent use of knowledge and the ethical obligation to wield it wisely. As an inventor, it was a burden he had long carried, a responsibility to ensure his creations served to enhance and not hinder. Thinking back to Icarus, he recognized the necessity of grounding innovation in practicality, ensuring that future advances did not repeat the missteps of the past. As the last golden rays of sunlight faded into the deep hues of twilight, Daedalus felt a sense of peace settle over him. A reconciliation with the complex legacy he would leave behind began to unfold. A legacy defined not merely by his inventions, but by the philosophy they taught. He felt assured that the skills and lessons he imparted to his Sicilian apprentices would continue to resonate, fostering a generation of mindful innovators guided by both ambition and caution. Satisfied with the imprint he had engraved on the world, Daedalus allowed himself to fade gently into the unknown, with the comfort of knowing that the seeds of his knowledge had been sown well. In the calm embrace of nightfall, with the world at rest, his thoughts gently drifted, leaving behind a world forever marked by the tales of inventiveness and wisdom passed down from a father to his son, and from the son's fateful journey to those he indirectly taught. With the finality of dusk settled over the landscape, Daedalus's journey reached its serene conclusion. He transitioned into the eternal cycle of learning and growth, his story interwoven into the larger tapestry of human history. Such was the gentle power of a legacy shaped by intellect, tempered by time, and preserved in the collective memory of those who came after.